Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins, we've got a special report for you today. Right after the historical UFO conference hearings, we've got the UFO sightings just in. Watch this. We're watching this once again. At first, I thought it was some kind of celestial event, but when I saw this thing come to a sudden stop, change direction, I knew I was looking at something extraordinary. What are we looking at is the question. Brent, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, Blake, this one's pretty impressive. It just came in from Brazil earlier this afternoon. And again, looking at this thing just stop like that and take a different course is something exceptional. Look at this. It's streaking out of the sky and boom, just like that, freezes and then descends down to the ground. And actually, if you look closely, you can see it release these little nodules too. Very curious video. I like this a lot.
You know, looking at this over again, something came to mind in regards to these parachuters that jump out of airplanes with pyrotech strapped to their boots over major events. I'm not seeing this in this case. I'm not seeing any kind of canopy. And again, no video manipulation. What we're looking at is absolutely legitimate footage, and there is no manipulation. Again, we're looking at the phenomenon right now. The question is, what are we looking at? Is this some kind of aircraft being piloted by something intelligent, or some kind of atmospheric disturbance, ball lightning? Again, it's hard to tell, but some big things are happening. And what was entirely huge was a historical event today in Washington, D.C. Our friend Tim Burchett, the congressman, held the hearing and started to ask big questions to these pilots and whistleblowers. And today is a little part of the testimony I want to share with you. Listen up.
Okay. This is for any one of you. Based off of each of your experiences and observations, do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
Here we go. David Fravor, pilot, stating that this is a national security threat, and these objects pose a threat to the public, to the military. I'm kind of disagreeing with this. If these are UFOs coming from another solar system, another galaxy, and they're coming all this way to visit us, they would have taken us out a long time ago. What's going on here, in my opinion, is that there's a possibility of crash retrieval, reverse engineered alien tech. And this is operated by human, and this indeed could be a threat. And this is what I think we're looking at. ET, in my opinion, isn't any threat whatsoever. Again, we would have heard about it. More testimony from the Congress. Listen.
Mr. Graves, again, I'd like to know, how do you know that these were not our aircraft?
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's zero airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach, and they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
That's the question. Who does have the explanation? Does a private corporation hold the holy grail in regards to technology propulsion that mankind has yet to experience for themselves? Tim Burchett, he's asking big questions, but is he getting the answers he's looking for? Again, this was another historic case in regards to UFOs, but is there more testimony in this Congress hearing that's going to be any kind of disclosure? I'm not sure. Let's listen to more of it. It was a big day. Let's hear what they got to say here.
Should you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of? or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe in a, if we could get in a confidential area, SCIF, we could talk about that. But unfortunately, we were denied access to the SCIF, and that's very unfortunate in this scenario.
How on earth is a congressman disallowed access to a SCIF? This doesn't make any sense. We need SCIFs for these whistleblowers to come forward and give more information, and right now they're being denied access to a SCIF. This is very concerning in regards to disclosure, and he's bringing up the case of murder, a cover-up, a criminal activity. Brent?
Yeah, it's pretty big words right there. This is pretty interesting stuff. Again, it being locked in a SCIF, I want it being seen and heard to the American people. That's what we want.
Absolutely. We need transparency, not more secrecy.
Do you have knowledge or do you have reason to believe that there are programs in the advanced tech space that are unsanctioned?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say that they're above congressional oversight, what do you mean?
Complicated question. So there's, some, I would call it abuse here. So congressional oversight of conventional special access programs, so I'll use Title 10, so DOD as an example, right? So 10 U.S. Code Section 119 discusses congressional oversight of SAPs, discusses the DepSecDef's ability to waive congressional reporting. However, the Gang of Eight is at least supposed to be notified if a waived or waive-bigoted, unacknowledged SAP is created, and that's public law.
Well, so that how does, I don't want to cut you off, but how does a program like that get funded?
I will give you generalities. I can get very specific in a closed session, but misappropriation of funds and
does that mean
self-fund.
Does that mean that there is money in the budget that is said to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else?
Yes, I have specific knowledge of that. Yep.
Do you think U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the U.S. government, and that additional money is going to programs?
Correct, through something called IRAD.
So there it is, acknowledgement of black budget programs, in my opinion, undisclosed amounts of money going to propulsion craft and private corporations that are blowing the lid off conventional aircraft at the moment. This congressman or senator, he's asking some pretty good questions. He's wondering where all the money's going, and these are places where we need to find out. It's basically follow the money, because all of this is about money, control, and power.
Yeah, and a war machine as well. If they create a threat, they're going to be building the military-industrial complex. That's what it's all about, in my opinion, is that they're trying to scare us into reacting to Congress create bills to give more money to the Defense Department.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. Grush continues to say, and he was there under oath to testify, and a lot of stuff he couldn't say. He wanted to do it behind the scenes, or he was basically off the record, no comment on a bunch of stuff. That was kind of disappointing, but listen to some more of the testimony earlier this morning.
In your sworn testimony, you state that the United States government has retrieved supposedly extraterrestrial spacecraft and other UAP-related artifacts. You go so far as to state that the U.S. is in possession of, quote, non-human spacecraft, end quote, and that some of these artifacts have circulated with defense contractors. Several other former military and intelligence officials have come forward with similar allegations, albeit in non-public settings. However, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of AARO, previously testified before Congress that there has been, and I quote, no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity or of, quote, off-world technology brought to the attention of the office. To your knowledge, is that statement correct?
It's not accurate.
We've got a little quagmire here. Mrs. Fox wanted to bring to Mr. Grush's attention that the head of Arrow, Mr. Kirkpatrick, has a different viewpoint in regards to the phenomenon, these anomalies. Grush says that these things are non-human, off-world, performing extraordinary maneuvers, propulsion, but Kirkpatrick says basically the head of Arrow in charge of the UFO investigation is stating that there is nothing extraordinary, mostly mundane stuff. Your thoughts on that, Brent?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I wish Burchett would have brought Kirkpatrick down to this hearing, then we could have had a real debate right there. This was a good opportunity that I think was missed, and there could have been more dialogue on this subject. I bet Grush and Kirkpatrick, these guys have opposing views. So this is kind of very interesting, and I'd like to see maybe a head-to-head with these guys breaking it down in any next coming hearings, or just in a debate on a public stage.
Definitely a friendly debate. More testimony today. Listen.
Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Right. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct firsthand knowledge and access to some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases that the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just and we move like a glacier. And as soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up. But please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the SCIF if we were allowed to get in a SCIF with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate accesses, yeah.
What special access programs cover this information, and how is it possible that they have evaded oversight for so long?
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific tradecraft used.
All right.
Again, vague answers to Burchett stated that there's nothing at Area 51. I'm not exactly sure if he's been there. It seems that he has knowledge, or basically if they were to announce that they would show up, that they would basically take all the assets and hide it right away. But very evasive again, Mr. Grush. Brent?
Yeah, I like Burchett. He asked the right questions right there. And again, this is being hidden from us. Again, instead of it being taken into a SCIF, just announce it in public. Actually, the truth will set you free, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and what is the proper route in regards to this? There is already an NDA immunity right now, so why not just tell it to the public instead of keeping it a secret? Kind of disappointing there. More testimony.
You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies or alien species. Have you seen the spacecraft?
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment, but I could answer that question behind closed doors. Yeah.
And have you seen any of the bodies?
That's something I've not witnessed myself.
Wow, great questions there. And again, no answers. Major claims by Mr. Grush. Alien bodies recovered, and has he seen the craft? And again, no answers. So if you're going to put out these major statements, you got to back it up with facts. And I thought those were really heavy-hitting questions. But again, we're not getting any answers from Grush. So what's the point of this hearing if we're not going to get the truth? This is a little concerning here, Brent.
Yeah, he kind of Grush keeps taking it back, like, oh, I made a statement on News Nation, refer back to that. So I guess we all heard this all before. If you watch a News Nation interview that Grush was on just recently, it was kind of a big thing. People were really excited about what was going on, but I thought he was more of a secondhand testimony, getting secondhand information. Did he actually see an alien craft? That was a good question. I'm kind of upset he couldn't answer that.
Yeah, he actually kind of stammered there for a second. So it's hard to tell what Grush's angle on this and why he even came out in the first place.
Do you believe that officials at the highest levels of our national security apparatus have unlawfully withheld information from Congress and subverted our oversight authority?
There are certain elected leaders that had more information that I'm not sure what they've shared with certain Gang of Eight members or et cetera, but certainly I would not be surprised.
Okay. You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss.
So the silent treatment basically kind of shines true in regards to possible admission to we're not alone. But again, with no proof to back it up, we're kind of spinning circles here in regards to this hearing. It's kind of frustrating. Again, she's asking proper questions. Again, Grush is making major claims on this News Nation network, whatever that's all about. And then he was recently quoted on the Daily News or the Daily Mail that aliens are killing humans. So Grush is stating a lot of stuff without an ounce of evidence, and this is something that needs to be changed. When you're looking for evidence, Third Phase of Moon has got it. We're sharing with you evidence that comes in on a daily basis. I wish there was a little bit more video, data, anything that could have been shared with the public today.
Now, was the aircraft that you were flying, was it armed?
No, never felt threatened at all.
If the aircraft was armed, do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no. Just on the performance, it would have just left in a split second.
It looks like that we have a problem here that needs further investigation.
Yes.
Kind of the understatement of the whole aspect today. It seems like we have an issue here, and that's absolutely true. Again, I'm thinking we're dealing with something that may be a private rogue corporation that the government doesn't have any control over anymore. Is it our foreign adversaries, China, Russia? Probably not. Again, they probably would have used this against us. So is this some kind of new weapon system that is being about to be implemented in a possible false flag alien invasion? It's hard to tell, but there's provocative stuff today that came in. Listen.
I might have asked this before, but I want to make sure. Do you have any personal knowledge of someone who's possibly been injured working on legacy UAP reverse engineering?
Yes.
Okay. How were they injured? Is it something like a radioactive type situation or something we didn't understand? I've heard people talk about Havana syndrome type incidences. What was your recollection of that?
I can't get into specifics, but you could imagine assessing an unknown unknown. There's a lot of potentialities you can't fully prepare for.
Well, we're prepared for the evidence, everybody. And Grush, I wish you brought some more to the table. Tim, good job on the questions. Keep up the good work. Maybe next time get Third Phase of Moon over there. We could bring over evidence from around the world, undeniable evidence of things that cannot be explained. People, the phenomenon's real. It's happening. The question is, what is it? We don't have the answers for you. We're here just to bring you the data as it comes in as fast as possible. That's our specialty here. But we will be on the front line in regards to the subject matter dealing with the Congress. You know, we're friends with Tim. We're going to get an update with him next week. We're working on a new documentary, our follow-up to UFO Endgame to Disclosure. It's out, available right now worldwide, and it's still making rounds because of this subject matter. It's hot. So if you've captured anything amazing, don't forget, upload that video to YouTube. Copy paste that link to my email. It's in the description below. Everybody be safe. Keep your eyes on the skies. Blake Cousins along with my brother Brent. We'll see you next time.